I trusted another man with the most vulnerable part of my family, my son. And that same man took my wife away from me. My name is John. Emily and I have been together for over 10 years, married for 7. We have a 9-year-old son named Noah. He's a smart, kind boy, but this year he started showing signs of anxiety before school. He would cry in the mornings, sometimes even wake up at night in a panic. His teacher recommended that we meet with the school psychologist, Dr. Daniel Brooks. The first time we sat in his office, I felt hopeful. Dr. Brooks had that calm, professional voice, and Emily seemed impressed by how he explained things. He said he would help Noah manage his anxiety and help us as parents handle it better. For a while, things actually improved. Noah started sleeping through the night again, mornings weren't so chaotic, and Emily walked out of Brooks's office looking relieved. She even told me one night, "Daniel says we need to be a team, for Noah's sake." A team. I liked the sound of that. But then, little things started to change. Emily was on her phone more, often turning the screen face down when I walked in. She changed her passcode, something she never cared about before. She started having extra parent committee meetings and quick after-school talks about Noah's progress. Sometimes she came home late, saying Dr. Brooks had asked her to stay and discuss strategies. After 10 o'clock at night? I asked once. She looked at me, a little annoyed. "He works late hours sometimes, John. He makes time for parents so the kids won't feel pressured." I let it go, but something in my gut twisted. A few weeks later, I picked Noah up early from school because practice had been cancelled. On the drive home, he said, "Mom was at school today too." Dr. Brooks asked me to wait in the hallway while he talked to her alone. He gave me a comic book. They talked for a long time. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. That night, I asked Emily about it. "Yes, I stayed behind to talk with him," she said quickly. "It's normal, John. He helps us as parents stay consistent." "And afterward? Did you go somewhere?" Her eyes flickered for a second. "No. Just in his office." The next day, while cleaning out her car, I found a receipt shoved in the glove box. A coffee shop. Time stamped at 4:42 p.m., the exact time she was supposedly in his office. I folded the receipt and put it in my wallet, like evidence I didn't want but couldn't throw away. Our conversations grew tense. She accused me of being paranoid. "Why don't you trust me?" she demanded. "I want facts, Emily," I said. "I want to know what's happening in this family." "Nothing is happening," she shot back too quickly. "You're imagining things." That night, she slept on the couch, claiming she didn't want to upset Noah. Around midnight, I heard her whispering in the kitchen. Her voice was soft, intimate. I walked in, turned on the light. "Who are you talking to?" I asked. She flinched, clutching the phone to her chest. "No one. Just the parent group chat." "At 1 in the morning? You're being ridiculous, John." The next day I called the school office myself, pretending to confirm Noah's sessions. The secretary politely explained that Dr. Brooks never stayed later than 7 p.m. Never. My heart sank. Emily had been meeting him much later than that. That evening, I confronted her again. "You said you stayed late with Brooks. The school says he's gone by 7. What were you after that?" Her face went pale. "Why are you checking on me? Do you hear yourself? You're suffocating me with your suspicion." But her eyes gave her away. I grabbed my keys and stormed out into the cold night, needing air, needing clarity. I drove straight to the school parking lot. It was almost empty, dark, quiet. But in the corner, near the counselor's office, one light was still on. And parked right there, half hidden under the trees, was Emily's car. My hands shook as I turned off the engine. I stepped out, each footstep echoing against the pavement. The hallway door was unlocked. The building was silent except for a faint hum of electricity. And then I saw it, 2 shadows moving behind the frosted glass of Brooks's office. One tall, one smaller, unmistakably hers. I put my hand on the door handle. I pushed. The door creaked open. And for a second they didn't even notice me. Emily was on the edge of his desk. Too close. Her hand brushed against his arm like it had done it 100 times before. His tie was loose, sleeves rolled up, like he was at home and not in a school office. She jumped up the moment she saw me. "John!" Her voice cracked. Brooks froze, his face stiff. He tried to play it calm, but I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't expecting me. I just stood there, staring at both of them. My chest felt tight, my hands were shaking, but my voice came out flat. "What the hell is this?" Emily rushed toward me. "It's not what it looks like." I almost laughed. "Really? You're gonna say that? That line?" Brooks cleared his throat like he was about to step in. "John, let's—" "No," I snapped. "You shut up. You don't get to talk to me. You're supposed to help my kid, not screw around with my wife." Silence. He didn't argue. He didn't deny it. That silence hit harder than any words. Emily grabbed my arm. "Please, not here. We'll talk at home." "No." I pulled away. "We're talking now." Her eyes were wet, her voice shaking. "You don't understand. I needed someone. He listens. He makes me feel alive?" I cut her off. "That what you were gonna say? He makes you feel alive?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I looked at Brooks. He stood there like a statue, trying not to look guilty but failing. "You used my son as your excuse," I said. "You crossed every line there is." Emily stepped in front of me again. "Stop, please. Don't make this worse." "Worse?" My voice cracked. "You've been lying to me for months. The late nights, the phone calls, the receipts in your car. And you call me paranoid." She covered her face with her hands. She didn't deny a word. That silence told me everything. I started pacing the office. The walls felt small, the air heavy. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I had to shove them into my pockets just to keep control. "You think Noah won't know?" I asked quietly. "Kids know everything. He'll feel it. He'll know his family's falling apart." She broke down crying. I turned away. For a split second I felt pity, but it was gone as fast as it came. All I could see was her with him. I had to get out. If I stayed, I'd lose it. I walked out without another word. She called after me, but I didn't stop. The cold night air hit my face as I stepped outside. I sat in the car, gripping the wheel until my hands hurt. I didn't even start the engine. I just stared at the school building. A few minutes later, Emily walked out. She stood there, looking at my car. Then she turned and headed to hers. Brooks followed, and I saw them talk quietly by his car before going separate ways. That was it. No more doubts. No more excuses. It was real. When I got home, the house felt wrong. Noah's shoes by the door, his backpack on the couch, normal life staring me in the face, like nothing had changed. But everything had. Emily came home later. Her eyes were red. She sat at the table across from me. We just stared at each other until I finally asked, "How long?" She opened her mouth, lips trembling. And I knew the answer was going to hurt more than anything I'd seen. "How long?" That was all I said. Just 2 words. But they hung in the air like a weight neither of us could move. Emily's lips trembled. She stared at the table, avoiding my eyes. "John!" "Don't John me!" I snapped. "How long?" She pressed her hands together like she was praying. Finally, she whispered, "Since the spring." My chest tightened. Spring. That was almost a year ago. All those months, the school meetings, the late nights, the excuses. Every family dinner, every smile, every kiss goodnight, all while she was sneaking behind my back. I leaned back in my chair, shaking my head. Almost a year. While I was taking Noah to practice, fixing the house, planning our summer trip, you were here. With him. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just... Stop. My voice came out sharp. Don't say it just happened. Affairs don't just happen, Emily. You made a choice. Over and over again. She covered her face, sobbing quietly. But her silence was worse than her crying. It meant she knew I was right. I stood up, pacing the kitchen. The floor creaked under my steps, the only sound besides her muffled sobs. My mind was racing. Pictures flashing, her phone face down, the receipts, Noah waiting in the hallway with a comic book while she was in that office. I stopped suddenly. Did he ever come to this house? I asked, my voice low. Her head shot up, horrified. No. God, no, John, never here. I studied her face, looking for lies. I didn't see any. For once, maybe that was the truth. But it didn't make anything better. So you met him in his office? In that coffee shop? She hesitated, then nodded. That tiny nod broke me more than any words. I slammed my fist against the counter, the sound echoing through the kitchen. Noah stirred in his room upstairs, and for a second both of us froze, holding our breath. When it stayed quiet, I turned back to her. How could you do this? With him, of all people? The man we trusted with our son? She wiped her face with trembling hands. I was lonely, John. You were always working, always tired. He listened to me. He made me feel seen. I almost laughed. Seen? I worked double shifts to keep this family afloat. I fixed the car, paid the bills, kept a roof over our heads. And you felt unseen? She cried harder. I know it sounds selfish. But I was drowning and he threw you a lifeline, right? I cut her off. While pulling me under. I sat back down, exhausted, my anger burning out into a deep, heavy sadness. I looked at her, this woman I'd built a life with, the mother of my child, and she looked like a stranger. Finally, I whispered, Does Noah mean nothing to you? You've risked everything for this. Her eyes filled again. Of course he means everything. That's why I wanted to end it. End it? I barked a bitter laugh. You weren't going to end it. You would have kept going until I caught you. She lowered her gaze. No denial. No excuse. Just guilt. The clock on the wall ticked, each second pounding in my head. My throat felt dry, my body heavy. For years I thought I knew Emily. Tonight, I wasn't even sure who was sitting across from me. I finally stood. I'm done for tonight. Sleep wherever you want, just not next to me. I went upstairs to the spare room, closed the door, and sat on the bed in the dark. My hands shook as I buried my face in them. Downstairs, I could hear her faint sobbing through the vents. But my mind wasn't on her anymore. It was on Noah. How was I going to explain to my son that the safe world he knew was gone? And worse, how was I supposed to keep it together long enough not to break him too? I barely slept that night. I lay in the spare room staring at the ceiling, listening to the clock tick and Emily's muffled crying downstairs. But it wasn't her I kept thinking about. It was Noah. How was I supposed to look my kid in the eye knowing his world was about to change? He was just 9. He loved his routines, his safety. He thought his mom and dad were unshakable. At breakfast, Emily tried to act normal. She made pancakes, smiled too much, asked Noah about school. He laughed, syrup on his chin, and for a second it almost looked like any other morning. But then his eyes drifted to me. Kids always know when something's off. Dad, are you mad at Mom? He asked suddenly. Emily froze with the spatula in her hand. My throat tightened. No, buddy. I forced a smile. Sometimes grown-ups just argue. But we both love you. That never changes. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't buy it completely. He's too smart for his age. After I dropped him off at school, I parked a block away and just sat in the car. My hands gripped the wheel, but I wasn't driving. I was staring at that building, Somewhere inside was the man who had been crossing every line with my wife. Part of me wanted to storm in, drag him out of his office, and beat the smug calm off his face. But another part of me whispered, that won't help Noah. That won't fix this. Instead, I called into work and said I'd be out for the day. I needed time to think. By the afternoon, Emily texted, "We need to talk tonight. Please don't shut me out." I stared at the screen. My chest ached. She still wanted to explain, to justify. But I didn't want more excuses. I wanted accountability. That evening I told her straight. "I'm going to talk to Brooks myself." Her face went pale. "John, please don't. It'll make things worse." "Worse?" I snapped. "You already made it worse. I trusted that man with my son, and he used it to get to you. I want to hear it from him." She shook her head, desperate. "He'll twist it, John. He'll make it sound like I needed him, like you weren't there for me." "Then let him try," I said. "But I won't sit here in the dark anymore." That night I could hardly sit still. I kept pacing the house, going over what I would say to him. Every version ended with me losing control. I had to keep reminding myself, if I lose it, Noah loses everything. The next day, I walked into the school with my heart pounding. I told the secretary I needed to see Dr. Brooks. She hesitated, probably noticed the tension in my voice, but eventually knocked on his door and waved me through. He looked surprised to see me. "John," he said, standing up like this was just another session. "What brings you in?" I shut the door behind me, hard. "You know why I'm here." He let out a slow breath and gestured to the chair. "Why don't you sit down?" I stayed standing. "No. You don't get to run this like therapy. This isn't about Noah right now. This is about you and my wife." His face tightened. For the first time, I saw the calm slip. "I care about Emily," he said quietly. "She needed support. I was there." I clenched my fists. "Support? That what you call it? Sneaking around, lying to her husband, risking my son's stability?" "John," he started, "I know this is painful, but your marriage had cracks long before." That was it. I slammed my hand against his desk, making him flinch. "Don't you dare put this on me. Don't you dare sit there and tell me you were some kind of savior. You're a predator. You saw an opening and you took it." He didn't answer. His silence was all the confirmation I needed. I stepped back, breathing hard. "Stay away from my family. If you so much as look at Emily again, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did." For the first time, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. "Good." I walked out without another word. My whole body was shaking, adrenaline surging, but deep down I felt something shift. This wasn't just about Emily anymore. This was about taking back control of my life, my family, my son's future. But when I got home, Emily was waiting. She looked at me with those red-rimmed eyes and whispered, "So now what, John?" I didn't answer. Because I honestly didn't know. When I walked back into the house, Emily was waiting in the kitchen like she'd been pacing for hours. Her arms were crossed tight against her chest, but her eyes were red, swollen. "You went to see him?" she said. Not a question. I tossed my keys on the counter. "Yeah. I did." Her jaw clenched. "What did you say?" "I told him to stay the hell away from us." I stared right at her. "From you?" Her lip trembled. "John, you shouldn't have done that." I barked a bitter laugh. "Shouldn't have? Emily, he was in your life because of our son. And you turned him into something else. Don't you dare tell me what I shouldn't have done." She shook her head, tears filling again. "You don't get it. He understood me. You've been so distant. Always tired, always working. I felt invisible. With him, I didn't." That hit me like a punch. "Invisible?" I said. "I worked myself to the bone for this family. Every extra shift, every bill paid, every night fixing things around here. Do you think I did that for fun? I did it for us. For you. For Noah. She covered her face, sobbing. I know, but I was lonely. I was weak. I slammed my hand against the table, making the dishes rattle. Weak doesn't cover almost a year of lying, Emily. Weak is a mistake. This? I gestured around the room, at her, at myself. This was a choice. Over and over again. Her sobs turned into a sharp voice. And you're perfect? You never made me feel second place? You never shut me out when you were too busy or too tired? I felt my anger boil. That's your excuse? That I worked too hard to keep us afloat? That I didn't read your mind? So you ran into the arms of our son's school counselor? She dropped into a chair, head in her hands, shoulders shaking. I paced the room, breathing heavy, my heart pounding in my ears. Finally, I stopped in front of her. Answer me this. If I hadn't caught you, would it still be going on? She didn't look up. She didn't say a word. Her silence was louder than any confession. I sank into the chair opposite her, feeling the weight crush me. My marriage, my home, my trust, all slipping through my hands. Does he love you? I asked quietly. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. No! No, John, it wasn't about that. Then what was it about? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just more tears. We sat there for what felt like hours, the house filled with nothing but the sound of her crying and the clock ticking. Finally, I whispered the words I'd been dreading. I don't know if I can forgive you. She froze. Her hands dropped to her lap. She looked like I'd just ripped the floor out from under her. John, she whispered. Please. Don't give up on us. Don't give up on Noah's family. My throat tightened. I thought about Noah upstairs, probably curled up with his stuffed dinosaur, thinking the world was safe. And here we were, tearing it apart. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But all I could do was whisper back. You already broke it. Emily reached across the table, trying to grab my hand. I pulled back. Her tears spilled over again, her whole body shaking. I'll do anything, John. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. Just don't leave me. I sat there, staring at her, feeling torn in two. Part of me wanted to walk out the door and never look back. The other part thought about Noah's face if I did. And that's when it hit me, no matter what I chose, nothing would ever go back to the way it was. The only question left was, do I try to save this or do I let it die? The next week felt like living in two different worlds. On the surface, we were still a family. We sat at the same table, ate the same meals, smiled at Noah when he told us about his day. From the outside, it probably looked normal. But under the surface, everything was broken. I couldn't look at Emily without replaying it in my head, the office, the receipts, the late nights. Every word she said sounded like another lie. She tried. I'll give her that. She cooked more, asked about my day, even put her phone face up on the counter like she had nothing to hide. But every time she reached for me, I felt myself pull back. One night, she said quietly, I found a counselor. For us. We can go together. I stared at her. A counselor? After you slept with one? You think sitting in another office fixes this? Her face crumpled. I'm trying, John. Please, I'm trying. I wanted to yell. Instead, I just said, it's not about trying. It's about trust. And you burned it to the ground. We ended up going anyway. Not because I believed it would help, but because part of me wanted to at least say I tried. For Noah's sake. The first session, Emily talked more than I did. She cried, admitted guilt, said she hated herself for what she'd done. The counselor nodded, asked questions, guided her through it. Then she turned to me. John, what do you want? The question hit me hard. What did I want? I wanted my life back. I wanted the Emily I thought I married. I wanted to believe this was just some nightmare I'd wake up from. But none of that was possible. I don't know, I muttered. I want to feel like my family isn't a lie. Emily reached for my hand. I let her touch it, but it felt foreign. Like someone else's hand in mine. The days blurred after that. Some mornings felt almost normal, like we could patch things together. Other nights ended in shouting, doors slamming, Noah hiding in his room pretending to play video games while the sound carried through the house. One evening, he came downstairs and looked at both of us. "Are you guys getting a divorce?" he asked, his little voice cracking. Emily burst into tears. I felt my throat tighten. "No, buddy," I said, forcing calm. We're trying to figure things out." He nodded slowly, but I could see the fear in his eyes. He didn't believe me. Later that night, after he went to bed, Emily said, "See? We have to fix this. For him." I shook my head. "You keep saying that. But fixing this means believing in you again. And I don't know if I ever can." Silence filled the room. She didn't argue. She just cried softly, and I sat there feeling like my chest was caving in. A few days later, I ran into Brooks in the grocery store. He froze when he saw me. I walked straight past him, but he had the nerve to say, "John, I hope you're finding peace." I stopped, turned, and looked him dead in the eyes. "You destroyed my marriage. You don't get to talk about peace." He didn't reply. He just lowered his gaze and walked away. Coward. That night, I told Emily about it. She broke down again, swearing she hadn't seen him since, swearing it was over. But my gut twisted. I wanted to believe her, God, I did, but belief doesn't grow back once it's been burned out of you. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the future. Did I want to spend years trying to glue broken pieces together? Or did I want to start over, even if it meant tearing Noah's world apart? Either way, there was no happy ending. Just choices. And soon, I'd have to make one. I woke up one morning and realized I couldn't keep living like this. The house felt like a stage play, the lines rehearsed, the smiles forced. Every day was the same cycle: try, break down, patch it up, repeat. I walked into the kitchen. Emily was making coffee. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept either. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time in weeks, she didn't say a word. She just waited. "Emily," I said quietly, "this isn't working." Her hands shook as she set the cup down. "John, please don't say that." I sat at the table, staring at my own reflection in the dark window. We've tried counseling. We've had 100 conversations. And I still can't look at you without seeing him. Without hearing all the lies. She started crying, her shoulders shaking. "I'll keep trying. I'll do anything. Don't throw us away." I shook my head. "I didn't throw us away. You did. You chose him. You chose lies. And maybe you regret it now, but regret doesn't erase what you did." The silence after those words felt endless. Finally, she whispered, "What about Noah?" My chest ached. "That was the hardest part. I'll always be his dad. You'll always be his mom. But us, as a couple? We're done. Dragging this out is only going to hurt him more." She broke down completely, sobbing into her hands. I wanted to feel something, anger, pity, anything. But all I felt was empty. Like my love for her had burned out, leaving only ash. Later that night, I sat with Noah in his room. He was playing with his Legos, quiet. I took a deep breath. "Buddy," I said, "things are going to be different. Mom and we're not going to live together the same way anymore. But we both love you. That's never changing." He looked up at me, his eyes watering. "So you're getting a divorce?" I swallowed hard. "Yes. But you're not losing either of us. We'll both always be here for you." He climbed into my lap and hugged me tight. And in that moment, I knew I was making the right choice. Staying in a broken marriage wasn't protecting him. It was teaching him that betrayal was normal. And I refused to teach my son that. The weeks that followed were brutal. Papers, lawyers, moving things out of the house. Emily begged some days, screamed others. But my decision didn't change. Every time I felt doubt creep in, I remembered the night I opened that office door. That image was branded into me. There was no going back. One evening, after Noah had fallen asleep, Emily sat across from me at the table. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "Do you hate me?" she asked. I thought about it. "No. I don't hate you. I just don't know who you are anymore." Her face crumpled, but I didn't look away. It was the truth. Now, months later, I'm writing this with a little more clarity. The pain hasn't gone away, but it's dulled. I still have nights where I lie awake, replaying everything, asking myself what I could have done differently. But I know this: nothing justifies what she did. Nothing excuses it. If you've been through something like this, you know, betrayal isn't just about the act itself. It's about the lies, the gaslighting, the way it makes you question your own sanity. That's the part that leaves scars. But I also learned something. You can survive it. You can walk through the fire and still come out standing. I don't know what the future looks like for me yet. But I know one thing for sure: I'll never settle for being someone's second choice again. And if anyone reading this ever finds themselves in my shoes, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. Because lies always come out, sooner or later. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next videos.